I've seen a lot of things that you've done on the web, and I got particularly interested in the musical neurofeedback. Can you explain what that is?
Sure. So the basic idea is to use brain activity and ways to measure brain activity to produce music. The way I went about it is that I used mainly an Israeli company which developed this technology called Neurosteer. So they use EEG. EEG are electrodes that measure electrical activity in the brain, and they send data from that activity, and I basically translate the data that the EEG sends into musical values. So what ends up happening is that the brain activity becomes music. But this is not really an instrument you can control. It's more of a feedback loop where what you're experiencing becomes music. I did some performances with people meditating on stage. So when they meditate, their musical feedback changes according to their brain state. I think it's interesting to try and translate different parts, different activities of the body into music and see what you could do with that. So the heart, for example, it's also the kind of thing you can influence, but you can't really control. So for example, if we had a person meditating on stage with EEG, with heartbeats, you have people running on stage. So the heart increases, which obviously can, for example, make the music go faster or any other kind of musical effect.
I have seen you playing music on the stage, like in the air, just moving your hand. Can you explain that?
Yeah. So actually, this is a very interesting kind of experiment because unlike brainwaves or heartbeats, movements are something we can really control, and some movements we can control in a more fine-tuned way, which really makes your body into an instrument you can play. One of my more recent projects is called Airstrument, and it's basically a wearable musical instrument that you put on your arm, and you play with the instrument using your hand movements in space, and that's probably what you saw. It was me playing with my hand movements.
Could this be used by people with special needs?
Yes, a lot of my work up until now touched on this subject of people with special needs because when I started getting into music technology, I was a musician and I also had a company that was all about positive impact through technology. It's called Shift, and it basically focuses on innovation for purpose, using technology to create positive change. So I had music technology on the one hand, and I had positive impact on the other, and I was trying to find a way to merge them. Where can music technology really help people? And I think that one of the most natural, intuitive answers were helping people who have disabilities and have a harder time and greater challenges trying to play music and express themselves. So some of the things I've done and were part of are about people with disabilities. And Airstrument was almost a result of these experiments because we built all kinds of solutions that helped paralyzed, amputated, autistic and blind musicians play.